So after deciding to show up to the GNX show, DJ Akademiks gets confronted by Dave Free and Kendrick Lamar's team. This video comes to us from the Ville. I'll leave a link in the description. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Y'all know how we do it. We get right into it. Let's go.
Going back to Akademiks was somebody who was approached by Anthony Saleh and Dave Free. He thought that shit was sweet in this suite. He thought that he wasn't going to get touched. But it looks like after posting constantly at the concert, because he was posting this in his story at the same time as it's going on, eventually, I'm assuming in my mind, Anthony Saleh and Dave Free figured out where Akademiks was staying. Because right after Akademiks started posting to his story, they ended up meeting with him in the suite that he was staying in. Obviously, if they see that Akademiks is in one of the suites watching the show, they're just going to get the drop on him and find out where exactly he's at so they could go and confront him. This is where they start to confront him. And eventually, after the scenario, Akademiks goes on live stream to talk about it.
See, the thing is, Akademiks trying to be big dog, right? He done talked all this shit about Kendrick for a year, and he trying to show that he ain't scared by going to the GNX show. But when he went, he got a suite. He didn't sit out there with the regular folks, so he thought he was gonna stay in the suite. Wasn't nobody gonna know he was there, but that's when social media comes into play. He kept posting and stuff. Now he easily could have went to the show in Toronto, which is coming up, so that kind of something strategic about that. He didn't want to be in Toronto. Toronto is coming up very soon. I think it's the next stop.
Anthony Saleh, which I think is a manager. I think he's a manager. Me and him, we actually chopped it up. You know, we actually sat down, we were talking until Euphoria came out. Euphoria, I was like, hold on, brother, I gotta listen to Euphoria. And then Dave Free popped up. And me and Dave Free, you know, we kind of, that was the first conversation since pretty much 2022, I think. And, you know, at the end of the day, positive vibes. Clearly, you know, they have a POV. I got a different POV. Most of all, I think the conversation was, they was trying to see, like, yo, are we into it or we? And I'm like, nigga, at the end of the day, I'm doing my job here. You get what I'm saying?
So clearly, Akademiks gets confronted. He doesn't want to say it, but he did get confronted. He was posting on his Instagram stories, acting like he was untouchable from the suite that was blocking everybody else from interacting with him. However, that wasn't going to interfere with Anthony Saleh and Dave Free getting ready to confront him. Don't let the calm demeanor fool you. Akademiks definitely got confronted by Anthony Saleh and Dave Free.
I'm saying? My opinion is going to lean a certain way because y'all know what type of music I like. But, you know, one thing I did agree with them with, you know, some of this shit should de-escalate. And, you know, whether it's fan influenced or whoever else has connected to it, if it's possible, especially when it brings in third parties and family or shit like that, that shit, there's no place for that. Not shit that I'm necessarily doing because I don't speak about, give two fucks about, you know, talking about that. But at the end of the day, you know, I think there were respectful conversations. I think they understand my POV. Yeah, brother, at the end of the day, Drake my favorite artist. Like, my nigga, like, what do you I don't care if I show up here today or tomorrow, the next day. Cool. Now, I understand their POV too. Bro, that, you know, cool. You could kind of fall over that type of side when it comes to your music opinions. But, man, that battle been over, man. We not trying to keep digging holes where now people are, you know, people that ain't public with it. So, you know, when we talking about like families, and don't bring families.
It's crazy. Akademiks talking like he got some sense now. But that boy be at home by himself in front of their camera. He be talking all that side of his neck. Talking bad about folks. He sounds super humbled. And he's also sitting down. I don't know why they got him blurred out though, but let's get back into it.
Or, you know, people that ain't public with it. So, you know, when we talking about like families, and don't bring families.
It's just so funny to me because Akademiks acts very dismissive in this scenario. He acts like, hey, man, you know, this beef has been running on for too long. I mean, none of us should really be going at it like this. I know I understand your point of view and I have my own point of view, but it's like, bro, you have Akademiks TV. You have that Twitter channel. You have that Twitter account that's run by somebody else, constantly posting about Kendrick Lamar and other things, trying to talk down on them, you know. And then the other thing is that when you say things, it gets repeated by other people because you keep covering it. However, the conversation continues. And Akademiks says that they had told him more. I just think that it's funny how dismissive he acts in public, but he has a lot to say about the beef and others when he's in private, when he's by himself.
His name is Act, so it should have spelled it ACT.
The tone definitely changes when he's in front of these people face to face, kind of like how Drewski was in front of Kendrick Lamar yesterday or the day before. Akademiks is trying to take the stance about not bringing families into it. He's going to try to defend Drake when Drake was the one that was talking about family in the first place.
It's the first time I talked to Dave Free in a while. You know, I'm gonna pray for. You know, I did say this to Anthony Saleh. I said the reality of what's happening now, because one thing I could say, okay. Both of them agreed and said, we understand that this musical feud is divisive. It has been good for music, and you know, we did our thing and we're happy about it. But it is at the point where it's gotten personal, and the parts we don't like about it is when ancillary people get consistently thrown in the mix. Their lives are trying to get, people are picking apart, people are digging into this, that, and the third about this, that, and the third. And what I told both of those men, because they even said, yo, act like, you know, like some of your platforms echo some of this stuff.
A lot of the things that are repeated are coming from Akademiks himself. A lot of things that are being said online are usually things that are stemming from Akademiks' alternate account on Twitter. Akademiks is going to try to claim that these narratives are going on both sides. But when it came to Dave Free and Anthony Saleh, one thing that you have to understand is that Drake was the person that had brought these individuals up. He could have just talked about Kendrick Lamar. And that's another thing, too. I don't think that Kendrick would have brought up the family. I don't think that he would have brought up his dad, his mom, his son, not even the people on his team like Baca and everybody else like that. If it was just one-on-one, let's just talk about each other, I don't think it would have gotten that far. But we all know, as history goes, Drake was the one that brought up everything himself. He was the one that brought up family and friends. It says Drake keeps trolling, this time sharing a pic of the manager of Kendrick Lamar in Future. Is today the day? This is what he had posted when he shares this. He says, wonder if today is the day. Now, keep in mind, this post was on April 16th, 2024. It wasn't until May 3rd where Kendrick was going up and defending Anthony Saleh and Dave Free after this. So clearly, the person that was talking about Anthony Saleh and everybody else first was Drake. And the people that Drake had mentioned are now confronting Akademiks. Why? Because they want to see, how close are you to Drake? What's going on with you and Drake? Similar to how The Weeknd and his manager had lined him up in the last concert, except in this case, I think Akademiks ended up lining himself up by getting too confident after that Weeknd concert. I'm going to just be real.
You're acting like this is on one side. This is happening on both sides. So if you feel like this thing has gotten too personal and you don't like when this happens and this happens, you have to realize there's fans, blogs, or whoever doing that to the other side. And I told Anthony, I said, brother, at some point, y'all don't got to be friends, but y'all need to come together to kind of calm the fans down, because right now they think they're beefing like Bloods and Crips. If you're saying you don't like when wives are put up on screen, you don't like when wives are being discussed, you don't like when daughters, sons, I don't think Drake likes when his son gets mentioned, or his baby mama, or his sexual history, or his lack thereof, or making assumptions about what he may have. This is happening on both sides. So, when I hear them put that frustration out to me, I agree. But it's a mutual in a both ways thing that I don't think, even if they're like, all right, act, could you not amplify certain things? Well, there's other things being amplified. We're usually trying to just be a neutral arbiter.
It's what? This man said he's trying to be a neutral arbiter, bro. I slapped the shit at you. That's crazy. And he talking about everybody's doing it, other blogs and stuff. Other blogs don't have millions of followers, bro. You got a following this big. You got a certain responsibility to come along with it.
Now, obviously, sometimes, and I'm speaking about extensions of other pages that clearly are in the fold. We may lean a certain type of way because, fuck with Drake.
Those alternate pages are going to be Akademiks pages that I was just talking about. And like I said, the person that was always talking about the people that were getting involved first was Drake. The family involved, Drake. The people that are confronting him now, Drake had mentioned those people first.
He said, act. why you put that boy on your stream? He got me in Drake's case. And I said, dog, you know I've put people on stream that accuse Drake of whatever. You see, that's the thing that, I stand full steadfast on that.
Anthony Saleh has questioned Akademiks about the bot streaming. He tells them, why did you talk about me with that alleged whistleblower talking about the pay for stream, the payola that you were accusing us of? Because it was in that stream where Akademiks was named in the lawsuit accusing Anthony Saleh paying somebody to a fake or bot stream, not like us. It says whistleblower claims contact was with Anthony Saleh, the guy Drake kept posting over and over again. However, it was dismissed because there wasn't enough evidence to prove that that was accurate. Not only that, in a later stream, Akademiks was talking to Whack 100, where Akademiks had said himself out his own mouth that he had spoke to somebody from Spotify and they denied the Not Like Us botting rumors. He said that he had talked to his man on Spotify and said that the Kendrick streams are real. So all those allegations about Anthony Saleh and all these things about bot streaming, the minute that he saw Akademiks, he confronted him about that. Why did you talk about me like that and put me in that boy's lawsuit? But the next thing that comes out of Akademiks' voice is very interesting because this is when, out of his own accord, starts to talk about Julian. We know about Julian. Everybody knows where's Julian, the situation with Top 5 and all of that. But he tries to use this as an example that he covers everything despite it being at Drake's expense.
He got me in Drake's case, and I said, dog, you know I've put people on stream that accuse Drake of whatever. You see, that's the thing that, I stand full steadfast on that.
No, he don't.
I put somebody on my stream named Julian. He said Drake scammed him of millions of dollars. Then you had the K-bots who said Drake. That didn't help Drake. But what am I? I'm a media outlet.
Now remember, Julian was the guy that people are accusing of Top 5, Bunt Dog being responsible of the disappearance of, allegedly. This is just the rumors and speculation that Akademiks ends up talking about. He's trying to make the point that he had brought this up despite it being more harmful to Drake than it would be to Kendrick Lamar. But my speculation is he used Julian as an example in this scenario to not only prove that he's willing to talk about things that would be bad for Drake, but at the same time mentioning this is also saying, I just covered this story. I don't know how deep this story goes. I let him on my platform and speak, but that's all I did, is what Akademiks is saying. And I feel like he's doing this to cover himself up from things that could have happened, alleged to have happened, whatever the case may be. But this story is very deep considering the whole situation with Top 5, Julian, him telling him about Cash XO and how he knows about his house getting shot up and all of these things, right?
All these pussies. Even Drake is scared to get a little Rico today. When I fucking get the Russian government, I fucking call the U.S. embassy and play him all these fucking voice notes. The top send me about shooting up the fucking weekend manager's house and living security guard.
People have accused Julian of being missing. Nobody knows where Julian is right now. And the last time we had seen him online, he was getting into an argument with Top 5 on Akademiks live stream, where Top 5 said that he was going to get him touched by Bun Dog. Bun Dog was going to handle his business for him over there in Dubai. If you'd like to know more about that story, you could check out my channel. But I feel like Akademiks brings this up to distance himself from the scenario. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I'm not involved in it. However, it seems like it's somewhat of a dry snitch, considering that you're friends with Top 5 and people are accusing Drake and Top 5 of this horrendous thing, allegedly.
Day Free had a moment. He asked me, he said, he said, what are you getting from this? He says, is he paying you? And that was the most insulting thing and I had conversations with these men for a while. But the very idea that I was like a purchasable commodity was so disgusting. I reminded him, I said, I've been doing this for over 10 years. I've been doing this for over 15 years. How did you think I became me? I said, you knew about me before this shit. How did you think did you think I was a cheap hoe that just could be bought?
And this goes back to me saying that Akademiks really doesn't want to choose a side in this beef. I think that Akademiks, after experiencing the situation with The Weeknd, Cash XO, Top 5, Drake, all of this stuff going on with Kendrick Lamar as well, I think he started to realize that he bit off more than he could chew. And now he's trying to say that he stands alone against all of the things that have been going on. I think Akademiks knows more than he lets on. And I think that he knows so much that it's time for him to steer away from everything else. Let me do this thing. Let me go to Kendrick Lamar's concert. Let me go to The Weeknd's concert to let people know that I'm a neutral, that I'm just trying to cover this stuff. Yeah, I have a bias. Yeah, Drake is my favorite artist, but I'm just covering these things. I'm not trying to pledge any alliance to anybody. This only comes after Top 5 gets shot up, after one of his friends loses his life, after things start getting very scarce, after the lawsuit starts getting very serious. Discovery is going to start to come out. In the lawsuit, he's already trying to blame Kendrick Lamar for the shooting, despite the shooting happening in Toronto, where everybody else is getting shot at. It only makes me feel like things are getting hot in the kitchen and Academics is trying to break out. He's trying to get out of there. And I think the cover up for him going to this concert was to try to act like he could do this. I could go to these concerts. I went to the Weekends. Now I could go to Kendrick's just to show them that I can. But I think it goes back to why he went to the Weekends concert in the first place, to show people that I'm not really aligned with Drake like that. But why all of a sudden? Why do you want people to think that? A year and a half later, and it seems like you're distancing yourself from everything, from all of the chaos.
The internet is forever. We will forever have a record of you blowing a gasket, talking about who your top 5 is.
And it's funny that it's happening now, after all the people that supported Drake are beefing with each other. And it got to the point, in my opinion, where Dave Free had to ask him, bro, were you getting paid? Are you getting paid? Because why are you going so hard the way that you are? And Academics gives him a lot of pushback. He's like, look, bro, I'm not like that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to cover everything, and that's why I'm here. It's funny how the tone changes when these guys you've been disrespecting with Drake are in front of your face. Almost like he knew that people were starting to align himself with Drake and his people a lot more, to where he started to look like a guilty party. Academics' defense to all of this is to try to say that they never contacted him after this beef had unfolded. He said that he talked to Dave Free in the past, but he lost connection with him after the beef. I wonder why. It looked like you were aligning yourself with them heavily since the beef started.
His idea was, well, if you're not getting paid by this guy, if Drake ain't paying you, why do you lean that much in that direction? And I was like, huh? I've never gotten paid. Like, the people who I've defended the most, I've never gotten paid from. That was something that I was a little taken aback by, because I couldn't believe it. And I think Dave Free's a very intelligent guy.
Let's not forget about the Happy Dad sponsorship that all of a sudden appeared. And let's not forget that Drake has part ownership in Happy Dad. Like I said, the internet is forever, bro.
A little taken aback by, because I couldn't believe it. And I think Dave Free's a very intelligent guy. I couldn't believe he thought that I was getting paid to maybe have the opinions or the POV that I have.
And I think that Academics is being real offended by what Dave Free had said. It is for the same reason why he's trying to be independent now. He wants to act so offended so that way he could sell it to people, so he could try to sell the idea that he's been trying to cover it from the start from both sides, and that he never pledged his allegiance to Drake, and that he was never fully aligned with him. But like I said, after the situation with Top 5 and someone losing their life after he was targeted, it only seems like Academics is acting offended as a cop-out, or in a way to plead that he is innocent from all the darker things taking place.
There was some good conversations. I've gotten, I got Anthony's contact, and hopefully, I told him, I said, listen, throughout the battle, we probably definitely came off very biased, not only because I like Drake and he's my favorite rapper, and anytime my favorite rapper is going against another person, if he's my favorite rapper, I'm going to say my favorite rapper is going to win. But you guys lost communications with us at that time, because again, whether I preferred Drake or not, if you choose to not clear anything up, like today we're talking, they mentioned a few things I didn't know. But when you choose not to involve yourself in clarifying the narrative gets written without you. It always happens like that. I'm in the media. I know how it goes. So, hopefully, my stance don't change. Drake's my favorite rapper. It won't change, ever, okay? Even if me and Drake beefing, well, depending on what beef. Because when I hate a nigga, I really hate a nigga. But...
And that's a funny way for him to end the live stream. Even if me and Drake are beefing, I'm still going to go hard on him. Well, it depends on the beef, if I really hate a person. Another speculation that I have is that not only is Academics distancing himself from all of these scenarios between all of these beefs that Drake has, there's also speculation that Academics could be turning on Drake because he just doesn't respect him as a person. Drake doesn't really give Academics a lot of respect. A lot of people pointed out, a lot of people are saying, well, he doesn't really look at you as a friend. He doesn't really look at you as a person that he really respects. Why are you going so hard for him if he doesn't even look at you that way? I think that's what Dave Free had meant. I think Dave Free meant you can't be going this hard unless he's paying you, right? And Academics is also getting offended because it's like, what do you mean? I'm just covering it and I love Drake. But it's like, does Drake love you? Does he respect you as a man? Does he really respect you, honestly? I'm just asking. But it's crazy how he got tickets to go see The Weeknd, and he saw Kendrick Lamar in concert this year before he saw Drake. Weeknd, like I said in the last video, the Weeknd gave him tickets before Drake gave him tickets. If that don't say something, then I don't know what is. My point is that there could be a speculation that Akademiks is distancing himself from Drake. The other speculation that I think is that Akademiks is slowly starting to understand that Drake don't really mess with him. And I think that's why Dave Free had asked him that question. I think it really startled him. I think they startled him in general. Anthony Saleh and Dave Free both had confronted Akademiks straight up. They saw him post on Instagram. They saw him post on his story. They found out that he was in the suite. They were able to get in and they were able to question him about all the things that he'd been saying online. Akademiks went there publicly trying to prove that he could go wherever he wants. And despite him going, he gets confronted as soon as he gets there. But y'all tell me how you feel about this and get back to me, man.
The only reason Akademiks is not fully aligned with Drake is because Drake ain't studying him. Drake don't give a fuck about him. But this man sat on the live stream night after night after night, begged for Drake. I'm talking about glizzy goblin, straight glazing. And Drake never even give him a phone interview, no nothing. So you look real stupid, my boy. Now you trying to jump back across the fence. Some people have short memories, but street niggas tend to have longest memory ever. And they be knowing what they be talking about most of the time. But what y'all think about it though? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. You team Kendrick, team Drake. What you doing? If you made it this far in the video and ain't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that sub button. One time for your boy. You know. All my day ones, hit that like button on your way out. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.